Episode 53, Q&A number 1. This episode is brought to you by Bear Performance Nutrition. Whether you're trying to bulk up or slim down, the supplements you take before, during, and after your workout sessions play a major role in your results. Bear Performance Nutrition features a wide range of products to cater to all of your fitness needs, including pre-workouts, amino acids, creatine, pump products, thermogenesis and focus products, as well as an incredible lineup of whey protein powder. To save 10% on all of your supplement needs, head on over to bpnsupps.com. That's bpnsupps.com and use code EVER4 at checkout for 10% off your entire purchase every time. Welcome back, everyone. I am your host, Chase Chewning, and this is your weekly source for inspiring content from people who are putting a purpose to their passion and truly living a life ever forward. This is Ever Forward Radio. Hey, welcome back, Ever Forward Nation. Welcome to a surprise episode. Well, I should say that this wouldn't be a surprise if you're one of my regular audience members and you're subscribed to the podcast. You've probably been picking up on the hints so far this year that I want to make this a twice-a-week endeavor. I want to bring Ever Forward Radio to the airwaves twice a week, and this is going to be either with 2 interviews, but I think the direction I want to head and where I will be heading with today's episode is giving you a little bit more alone time, a little more Chase time, all right? So we're going to get to know your host a little bit more. My name is Chase Chewning, for those of you who do not know, and I not only host and produce this podcast, but I also do a lot of other things in my life. I dabble in this fitness life. I'm a professional coach outside of Ever Forward Radio. I also am the founder and head coach over at Ever Forward Coach, a private health tracker app that allows you to just get really custom, really specific with things that you want to bring awareness into your life, your hydration, your nutrition, your physical activity, your sleep. We also have an amazing team of 7 other coaches all over the United States that specialize in really unique ways to just engage with their clients through the app, online coaching. So if you are finding value in what you hear on the podcast, if you are about that fit life, if you find value in connecting with like-minded people and just are a student of life, and you know that every time you tune into what your body is telling you, what it needs, and paying attention to the signs and the universe just telling you, hey, do this thing, I promise you will find value in working with a coach. Okay, so go ahead and check out Ever Forward Coach. It's a free app you can download on iPhone, Android, free to use. And if you want to connect with a coach, all you need to do is just find your coach and enter their coach code. If you want to connect with me, I'm happy to learn more about your goals and how you think working with a coach can bring value to your goals in your life right now. So go ahead and throw my name in the coach code. Let's get connected. Let's start working together. Let's see if we're a good fit for each other, okay? So just throw code Chewning in there and we'll start talking. So for those of you who don't know, my background is all in health and wellness and fitness. I have my undergraduate in exercise science. I have my master's in health promotion. I've gone through TRX certification. I've gone through health coach certification. I've spent years in the industry in corporate wellness and personal training, group exercise training. And as of late, my last corporate job before I stepped out and flapped my entrepreneur wings here was actually in a private medical practice. I was in a concierge primary care doctor's office. I worked there for 3 years, training, coaching people day in, day out. It was a little bit more clinically oriented, so I got to work with some amazing physicians, some amazing team of nurses and doctors to help people get well and stay well. And so I got to kind of flex my exercise science muscles a lot over the years. So I want to get back into it. So what I did was last week I posted up a question, a Q&A, if you will, over on my Instagram. You can find me on Instagram. Just search Chewning the Elder. And I got some really great questions. So I wanted to see what your questions were, what your inquiries, your concerns, your curiosities around certain training modalities, fitness, nutrition, motivation, basically all of these amazing topics that we cover with guests on the podcast. I wanted to kind of give you my professional insight, my personal insight, all of the above. But before we dive into the Q&A, I want to give some love to one of our iTunes reviews. So let's get started with the iTunes review of the week right meow. All right, so this is going to be a very special review. This is actually coming from a gentleman that I had on the podcast, one of our incredible audience members like yourself, who is doing big, big things with his life. Mr. Andrew Weber, had him on here a few episodes ago, all about his venture with Article 21. I'll link that episode down in the show notes below. Definitely want to check it out. So Andrew writes, the title of this review is just simply thank you, 5 stars. The phrase ever forward is now a daily reminder for me that all your passions and happiness will come to you when you put in the work and surround yourself with all ways to be inspired. Thank you, Chase. So excited to hear our conversation. So Andrew, by now, definitely our podcast is live. Our interview is out there. I highly encourage you all to go check it out. Andrew is doing incredible things up in New York, just finding other people, bringing value to the world and their community, and just highlighting them and showing them their worth and their value. So really powerful episode, and it was so cool, so unique to connect with an audience member, someone who engages with the Everforward brand and message and is living his life Everforward. So Andrew, thank you so much for your time, man. It was an amazing conversation, and really looking forward to collaborating with you. I think Andrew's going to actually have me a part of his Article 21 project here soon. So watch out, world. Article 21 EF doing some amazing collaborations in the near future. Okay, so let's get started with the meat of this podcast. Let's get going into the Q&A here. You got the Q's. Let's see if I've got the A's for you. Okay, so first question comes from Trevor Ottman. And Trevor writes, what would be your advice to someone trying to train for functional fitness? Specifically, what would that training look like? Now, keep in mind with these questions, I'm going to be making probably a little bit of an assumption because I don't get the whole backstory of you and the true intent and meaning behind the question. So I'm going to do my best to answer it as I see fit there, okay? So Trevor, when it comes to functional fitness, I interpret that as just moving how the body naturally moves. That usually translates into you are someone who is just very physically active during your day. You try to just find movement in any way possible, or you're someone whose line of work requires you to be on your feet, bending over, squatting, picking things up, moving, reaching, just needing to live a active lifestyle for your job, or just that's your preferred lifestyle. So when it comes to functional fitness, I would incorporate it a lot of ways that I would in any new traditional training program for a new client. So we want to be looking at pushing, we want to be looking at pulling, we want to be looking at pressing, we want to be looking at squatting, okay? So the body likes to move in various planes of motion. So we're moving forward, we're moving backwards, we're moving side to side, laterally. You may be jumping up and down, getting a little bit into that 4D. That may be the right way to use 4D. Don't judge me too harshly there. So just think of how you need to operate in your day. And are you going to be someone who is just at a desk, so you're going to be hunched over? Or are you going to be someone that needs to be picking up boxes, you're moving inventory? So I would get really specific with how your day looks and train in that way. Also, one thing to be mindful of is to train opposite. We call this in the exercise science world, the training world, training opposing muscle groups. So if you're someone at your desk and you're hunched over, for example, and you're on your computer, you're on the phone, you lead a sedentary job, meaning you're sitting on your ass for hours on end, you need to be doing a lot of movements that are going to be pulling you in the opposite direction. So if you have a 9 to 5, if you're sedentary, if you're at a desk, you need to be incorporating a lot of pulling motions, a lot of back movement. You need to be on the row. You need to be doing pull-ups. You need to be doing chin-ups. You need to be doing cable pulls. You need to be doing single arm rows. You need to be doing anything that's going to be engaging your posterior chain, that backside, because you are doing a lot of work, whether you think you're not or not, during the day, just hunched over. Eventually, a lot of us become what's called kyphosis, or you develop kyphosis, meaning you kind of have like a natural front curvature to your body and your posture and your back. And over time, that leads to a lot of back problems and a lot of neck problems. you get some shift in your shoulder blades, and it is possible to offset that. But what you need to be doing is just being mindful of what you're doing during your day and train those opposing muscle groups. Now, getting back to the functional component, specifically you asked what would that training look like? And I would encourage you to really get specific with body weight training. And that is just high reps, high volume, really working on negatives, basically how long can you hold the negative portion of that lift. If it's a push-up, the negative portion is going to be going down really, really slow. So you just want to get as much time under tension as you can and engaging that specific muscle group as long as possible. People really underestimate the value of body weight training. You can kick your ass, you can smoke yourself, you can get incredible results with just push-ups, planks, crunches, body weight squats. You just got to get specific. You either just got to burn yourself out. So with body weight or the less weight you're using, you need to be going for higher volume, higher reps, and or engaging that muscle group for as long as possible. You want as much what is called time under tension, because that is where you're really going to tax the muscle. You're going to begin to tear down those muscle fibers. You're going to become stronger. You're going to strengthen the tendons and the ligaments around there. Those take a little bit longer to strengthen than muscles. That's why a lot of people, they'll jump up weight sometimes in the gym and they'll get really sore or they'll tear something because you jump up weight faster than your tendons can handle. The muscles, they adapt a lot quicker. So I would say specifically, functional training would look like a lot of body weight stuff, okay? Okay, next question is coming from Miss Taylor Strong with 2 G's. Taylor writes, what is your opinion on meditation and what do you think are some of the best ways to meditate? Taylor, thank you for asking this question. I have found that one of the biggest common denominators in some of these incredible people that I've interviewed is, how do they become successful? How do they build their plan? What is their ritual? How do they develop and prioritize their day? And it's various forms of meditation. Now, here's where I'll kind of draw the line in the sand. Meditation is not what you think it is, okay? Meditation, I think a lot of us have this preconceived notion that meditation is you have to get into a toga and you have to be sitting at the top of a mountain with your legs crossed and just chanting Om, Om, over and over again. And that's simply not true. Is that a form of meditation that certain people do? Absolutely. Is that what you need to do? Absolutely not. Meditation, I personally categorize the same I do with mindfulness and awareness. It is basically just being still with your thoughts. And another misconception I think a lot of people have with meditation is that you're supposed to be just really good at thinking about nothing. And again, that is simply not true. Meditation is you getting real, you getting quiet, you becoming still with yourself. You're going to have thoughts. You're going to have things race across your brain, but that's the whole point. Meditation is supposed to bring you closer to your subconscious. Meditation, awareness, mindfulness training is supposed to remind you that even when you think you're doing nothing, the brain, the mind, the subconscious has a bajillion different tasks going on in the background. And I encourage you all to do that. I practice a little bit of this myself. Every morning I kind of have my morning ritual, and that does include some quiet time, some still time. And you would be surprised what comes up. Just being still, you can take 10 seconds or 10 minutes. I don't care. Start small, build the practice, but you would be surprised with what comes up. If you're looking for a way to kind of just stir up something new, get inspiration for a project at work, or you want to start journaling, but you have no idea what the hell to write down, try doing some meditation. Try doing some of this mindfulness and awareness training. I found great help in guided meditation. There's some really great tools and resources out there. One app that I would recommend would be Headspace. And I believe this is a free app to start. Certain things are always going to be free. But if you want to get into more of the guided aspects, I think there's a small fee associated with that. But what guided meditation is, it's basically just going to help you along that journey. So it's a coach, it's someone to bring in some specific steps and a path to lay before you if you are unable to do it for yourself at that point in time in your life. So Guided meditation, I think, is a great start for people who have no idea, or maybe they have some of these misconceptions and they just want to make sure they're doing it right. It's a great way to just get clear on the day, on your thoughts. And what I was saying earlier is that, let these thoughts happen. Let these thoughts, these feelings, these emotions come across your brain. And the whole point of meditation for me is to just, allow these to happen, and then dismiss the things that do not serve me at that time, and things that do come up that stir up, some type of way, some type of feels. I kind of dwell on it. It's there for a reason. It's in your subconscious for a reason. So that is one of the best ways that has helped me to get clarity around my journaling, so that I can write down specific things to take action on, or just really, hey, why the hell was I thinking this? I thought I was over this emotion. I thought I was over this feeling a long time ago. Why am I still dealing with this? So just take note of what comes up. Don't dismiss everything. Don't try to suppress everything. Don't try to just sit there for as long as possible without thinking about anything. Because I promise you, if you do, if you tell yourself, hey, don't think about anything, you're going to start thinking about the most random shit. But yeah, meditation is amazing. Headspace, probably my most favorite meditation app. Okay, next question. Mr. Pancho 0214 writes, how many hours of sleep do you actually sleep versus what's recommended for a healthy lifestyle, and does it affect your productivity for work and workouts, etc.? So again, I'm going to interpret this as you asking me specifically how many hours of sleep I get. Now, sleep is so important to my life. Sleep is probably the one thing that I'm willing to sacrifice the least. My nutrition, my workouts, I will give a little bit more leeway to those depending upon the day or the responsibilities before me. But I value sleep so much. I have a bedtime ritual. I just treasure sleep because it is the time where you repair everything that you did during the day. You regrow, you regenerate. You can't have a good day if you don't have a good night. And so for me, my hours of sleep translates to at least 6.5, around 7 usually. I found if I've had a really long day, or if I've been traveling, or I'm just exhausted myself in the gym, I'll get closer to about 8 hours. But I found for me, usually if I get more than about 7, it actually kind of has a counterintuitive approach. I usually slip back into another deep sleep cycle, and I wake up more groggy than if I got like flat 7. For the most time, I can get away with about 6.5. I think a lot of that is genetic. My mom, I think thrives off about 6 hours of sleep. So that's just what my body likes. Now, sleep is going to be very relative. It is going to be very important for a lot of people, especially if you're active, if you're training, if you're lifting weights, if you're strength training. Sleep is when you do all of your, well, I shouldn't say all. I'm going to say a heavy majority of your growth, your muscle repair, your muscle recovery. That's when you do the most actual hypertrophy, when you're generating new muscle tissue. The rest of your organs, the rest of your body kind of slows down, and your brain will actually swell a significant percentage in size. And I forget the exact percentage, but your brain burns something like, I think it's like 1/3 of your total daily calories when you're asleep. So if you're not getting that in your life, imagine the lack of clarity, the lack of ability, the lack of function you're going to have the next day. It's like you're supposed to defragment your computer overnight, but you only let it get it like 30% of the way, and the next day you're like, why the hell is my computer so slow? Well, you didn't let it finish its job. You didn't let it break apart everything it needed to do and piece itself back together smarter, faster, better. So that's about how many hours of sleep I get. And I think in regard to the second part of your question, what's recommended for a healthy lifestyle, and does it affect your productivity for work and workouts? Absolutely, it affects your productivity. And I think for every person, it's going to be very relative. So I would say the best way to get a good night's sleep is to have a consistent wake-up time so that you can allow your body to naturally develop its unique circadian rhythm, that natural rise and fall of your cortisol levels, your melatonin. Basically, cortisol is going to be your prime driving hormone throughout the day to keep you alert, to keep you aware, to increase your cognitive function. That also empowers the majority of your organ function. And then it all usually goes in cycle with the sun. So once the sun begins to set, your body will naturally stop receiving as much of those photoreceptors through your eyeballs, which signals your body to begin to lower cortisol and to increase melatonin. And melatonin is not the go to sleep hormone. It's not just like, it doesn't knock you out like a sleep aid, but what melatonin is, it is the hormone that signals the rest of your body to slow down cortisol production and to basically pump the brakes on all the rest of your bodily functions so that, like your digestion, a lot of things like that nature, so that your brain can kind of take over. So I would say wherever you are in the world, the best probably baseline answer is to kind of go off of the rise and fall of the sun. So when the sun begins to set, so you should be. And when the sun begins to rise, it's time to get up and at 'em. Okay, next question comes from Miss Karen G. Flowers. This is great. I love this, getting out of the funk. So Karen writes, how do you get out of the quote-unquote funk? I was an avid CrossFit person and runner 2 years ago, and now I feel like doing nothing. The couch is my friend, which gave me 10 pounds of fat gain. How do I get back in focus? Well, Karen, okay, so I would answer this again. This is a much more layered question than even maybe you realize, in that a lot of times when we feel like we lose motivation or we get in the funk or we don't find the same enjoyment in the gym or whatever physical activity we were doing, first of all, you need to remember that that's natural. It's very rare when a person can find one modality, one movement pattern, one training technique that is just it for life. We all go through seasons in life, and what worked for you, you said 2 years ago, you might have just been in a completely different place in your life. You might have been in a completely different season of your life. So I would say, to anyone really in the same situation, maybe you don't have that drive. Maybe you're just not as motivated. Maybe it takes a lot more work for you to get to the gym or to go for a run than it did before. And sometimes we get the misconception that it's the training, that it's just not doing it for us anymore. That, it's like you're in a relationship and after a while you're just like, man, you're not doing it for me anymore. It's usually not the other person, and it's usually not the training. It's us. So I would encourage you to kind of look at what was going on in your life 2 years ago. Where were you physically, geographically? What was your job like? Did you change jobs? Did you change relationships? Did you cross that threshold in age? Literally as we age, biology, our biochemistry works against us. So 2 years ago, I don't know how old you are, Karen, but you might have just been in a completely different level physiologically. Your hormones may have significantly dropped, and you just now need to kind of change a little bit more in your nutrition. Maybe you need to get some more vitamin D. Maybe you need to get more sleep or less sleep. A lot of things we discredit that are going on internally that drive our external factors, and aging is one of the biggest ones. So I would say don't immediately go to blame the training. Don't be like, running doesn't do it for me anymore. A lot of times it's us. And it's our relationships, it's our stress level, it's our job, it's our location. So look at what was going on then versus now, and see if there's any other area of your life that might be lacking and isn't giving you that same sense of fulfillment. Or maybe, for example, maybe 2 years ago, your job was a lot more stressful, and running and CrossFit was your escape, your vent process. That's how you literally blew steam and just burned calories and just left it all at the job. Maybe now you become more settled in that position. Maybe a relationship, you no longer have that in your life, and so you no longer have this other stressor where you compensated and use exercise as an escape for, or whether you realize it or not. So look at other areas of your life and see what's changed, see what stayed the same, and go from there. Oh man, we got so many good questions in here. It's so hard to pick. I would love to just go through and answer them all, but I think we'd have like a 2-hour podcast. So I'm going to scroll through here real quick and find ones that are a little more pertinent to fitness and nutrition and training. Okay. All right, here's one I think we can all relate to. So if you're listening to this, it's because you find value in continuing your education. You want to learn more. You want to become a better version of yourself. And odds are that means bringing certain levels of awareness into your eating habits, your lifestyle, your training. And one of the biggest things that will always be present, no matter your goal, whether you're in maintenance, weight gain, weight loss, or you just completely gave up on fitness, you're like, I'm taking a break. It's not you, it's me kind of thing. And this comes from user Clubinator. I think I'm pronouncing it right, man. Klubinator writes, how do you keep a balance between eating healthy and feeding your soul when you have so much nutrition knowledge? Yeah, this is where sometimes it's information overload. And the more you know, the more you find out you don't know. But more importantly, when it comes to nutrition knowledge, like you specifically said, once you begin to study food and nutrition and exercise science, kind of like me, I've gone through undergraduate and a master's program. I've been doing this as my job for years. You learn so much. And honestly, a lot of it you wish you didn't know, because you begin to look at food in terms of energy. You look at drinks as forms of energy. You look at things in kind of like the Matrix style, it's just all ones and zeros. And how does this entity serve me or disserve me? But also at the same time, we're human. And we want to just enjoy things because we enjoy them. We don't want to look at this cookie and know that, oh man, this is going to put me over my macros, or this is too much sugar. Sometimes you want to look at a cookie as, damn it, this cookie is amazing. It's like my grandmother's secret family recipe, and this is going to bring me some happiness right now. But, oh man, I'm going to regret it later. So I think first of all, you really need to look at, what is your association to food? What is your agreement that you have? What is your set of standards? Keep in mind, how have you been eating so far this day? What do you have left the rest of the day? What is your activity level? And I think, again, if you're listening to this podcast, you're an active person, or at least you have begun to take the right steps, literally, in the right direction. And so that going a little bit over your macros, whether or not, yes, there are going to be people who are competing and literally every gram counts, but for the most part, it doesn't really matter. And I always look at it, what's the long-term payoff? If in 5 years you denied yourself your grandmother's secret family recipe cookie, and then you begin to regret it, maybe she passed away, maybe the recipe gets lost, what is going to be that long-term payoff? What is going to be that long-term happiness that maybe you're sacrificing for a short-term benefit? So I think it comes down to this. Always remember that you're human. Always remember that you have the ability to say no or yes to whatever you want. If you can take a breath, you can make a choice. So it's just getting real with yourself, getting real with your goals. And, is this cookie, I don't know why I keep talking about cookies, probably because I think May and I, we made a leftover batch of cookies last night. We kind of cleaned shop, so maybe that's why it's still fresh in my mind. But, get real specific with your goal. And just remember that, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And unless, of course, you're training, if you're a collegiate athlete, Olympic athlete, or you're competing to go on stage for a physique or bodybuilding, whatever, then yeah, you need to get real specific and have some hard discipline in your life. But when you begin to know all these things, you begin to know that this cookie is X amount of fat, X amount of carbs, X amount of protein, sugar, yada, 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 versus this is just a thing that's going to bring me enjoyment. Begin to differentiate that. Remember your goal and recognize what is going to be the long-term payoff here. If I enjoy this cookie now, because I know I worked out today and I'm going to work out tomorrow, it's okay. Now, yes, certain things, once you do become a lot more knowledgeable, you will make better choices, even when it comes to a cookie or any indulgence, any quote-unquote bad thing or any quote-unquote unhealthy thing. You're going to make better choices. So I would say, to immediately answer that question, just become more knowledgeable so that you can look at a cookie and find a better cookie option. Maybe you can find one with less sugar. Maybe you can find one, maybe you can make your own protein cookies. Insert any indulgence here, instead of, if you're going to, have a drink, instead of getting like a super high alcoholic content beer or some crazy mixed sugar drink, you get like a light beer or a Pilsner, something that's going to have lower alcohol, something like a vodka soda, something with way less calories, a little bit more quote-unquote clean. So I definitely say just continue to be a student of life and educate yourself. One of the best nutritional education tools that I have and that has helped me in my journey is this book by Marion Nestle. It's called What to Eat. It does a great job for just like nutrition 101, grocery shopping 101, and gives you a little bit of the kind of backstory, food politics with it. I'll link that down in the show notes below. One of my go-to just basic nutrition books to just learn how to make better choices, I think, is a great go-to. So just, Klubinator, get really specific, get really clear on your goal, and then just have that brutally honest conversation with yourself. Is eating healthy right now? Why am I doing it? What's really going to making me happy and keep me happy. And then just remember you're human and it's okay. And again, unless you're some crazy athlete or about to step on stage anytime soon, I promise you it's okay. All right, and to wrap things up here, we got one more question. This is going to be a training question, and I'm going to relate this back to one of our earlier questions around the functional training. This is coming from Champ Franklin, and Champ writes, what are your best tips for chest training? It looks like he goes on to say that my chest has been following, I think he meant to say lagging. My chest has been lagging behind compared to other muscle groups, and I was wondering if you had any tips. So I would definitely go to immediately look at your time under tension. I would look at your frequency, your volume. Usually if you want to get down to the brass tacks of, I'm assuming you want to grow your chest. You want to have a bigger chest. You want to grow your pecs. And any muscle group we're trying to grow, we want to increase what's called hypertrophy. You need more frequency. You need more volume. You need more time under tension. Any one of those three or all of the above together. You need to be in a caloric surplus, specifically from protein, because you can be tearing it down all day long. But if you don't have those extra protein calories in to grow new tissue and aid in that recovery process, you're just banging your head against a wall. You're banging your chest against a wall. So I would definitely look at, how often are you training that muscle group? How often are you training chest? If you're doing it once or twice a week, bump it up to twice, bump it up to 3 times a week. What is your intensity? What is your time under tension? If you're just repping out as fast as you can, slow it down. Decrease the weight and really slow it down. Go down as slow as possible. Focus on the negatives. Do like, for example, a flat dumbbell bench or a classic bench press. Just, like a good 4 or 5 seconds down. Power up and then, just hold it. Another good training technique to really strengthen your tendons and ligaments, and also to kind of help your strength, maybe hit a new 1 rep max, is to just unrack and hold. So load the bar with a heavier weight than you can safely perform, have a good spotter, and just hold it. Unrack it, hold it up high above your chest, and then re-rack it, and then just do that. Another thing you can do is look at your rest time. I know this may sound contradictory, but if you're looking at increasing your intensity and basically if you're hitting chest multiple times a week and you're like, damn, why am I not growing? Give it a break. Take a week off and let it recover. You may just be beating it down and it doesn't even have the ability to recover because it's just always under that constant stress. So I would encourage you to look at how often you're hitting that muscle group. What is your intensity? What is your time under tension? And look at your calories. So if the rest of your diet is in check and you're comfortable with your current body composition and weight, I would definitely say start creeping up your calories, man, a little bit. Start creeping up a little bit more of those protein calories. Look at your hydration. Maybe even look at your sleep. Especially for guys, when we're asleep, this is the prime T time. This is when your body is generating the most amount of your testosterone hormone, and testosterone is vital for muscle recovery, repair, and regrowth, okay? So I would definitely look at your sleep, make sure you're getting adequate sleep, adequate rest, and just hit it a little bit harder. I think if I had to give one pro tip for increased hypertrophy in any muscle group, it's going to be to slow it down, reduce the weight, and increase that time under tension, okay? Alrighty, gang, so we got a few other questions here, but I wanted to kind of keep this pertinent to the podcast. I got a couple of military questions. I was active duty Army for 6 years. For those of you new to the podcast who didn't know that, I've gone through some significant injuries. I was medically discharged from the Army. Basically, both of my hips have been completely reconstructed. I'm just the bionic man from the waist down, basically. But, this was all part of my journey. Exercise is my medicine. And when I got out of the military, I had to learn how to walk again twice. I had to really learn biomechanics and exercise science and physiology and anatomy and nutrition. So I'm so grateful to be in a place in my life now where I can share even a portion of this knowledge that I have learned in my own journey. And I did this all for myself, and it turns out that I just got really passionate about it. So thank you all for your questions. If you have any other inquiries, comments, please feel free to hit me up. You can contact us at the show directly here at info@everforwardradio.com. Again, my Instagram handle was @ChewingTheElder. All this will be linked down in the show notes below. I hope that I answered your questions as completely and succinctly as possible. Again, some of these require a little bit more unraveling, and there's usually a question behind the question. So I hope that I answered them as best I could. I kind of just had to answer them as I was given the questions. So I hope that served you well. And again, if you are working towards any fitness journey, always do your homework, do your due diligence. Make sure you know your body. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Literally every body is different. And find the best form of exercise, the best form of movement that makes you happy. Find the one that you're going to want to keep coming back to, and that may change. Like I was talking about earlier with that question, look at the season of your life. What brings you enjoyment now may not bring you enjoyment later, and that's okay. That's okay. I've changed my training modality, my frequency, my intensity so many times over the years, from bodybuilding to powerlifting to yoga to cycling through all the above again, and that's okay. The important thing is that you're taking care of yourself, mind, body, soul, okay? And again, if you would like any further insight into coaching and training, Everforward Coach is here to help. I still coach clients daily. I have 7 other amazing coaches, a part of the team that would love to help you, meet you where you are, and get you where you want to be, okay? So Everforward Coach is a free app. All you need to do is head on over to the App Store and iTunes, or on your iPhone, or on Google on the Android device, and download it. Everforward Coach, free to set up. It's a great little health tracker, as well as a way to engage with us directly. So if you want to use it on your own to bring some more awareness as a health tracker tool into your life and your hydration, your sleep, your physical activity, and your nutrition, that's what I built it for. But even more importantly, we can customize anything and everything. We can sync your MyFitnessPal account. We can sync your Fitbit, your Jawbone, your Garmin. It provides so much data for the coach on the backside to help us better serve you. So if you really want to get serious, if you want to get some extra accountability, some exercise programming, some really specific coaching and actionable items into your life to help you reach whatever goal you have, whether it's maintenance, weight loss, weight gain, just general accountability, we have some really amazing people that offer some really specific skill sets for you, okay? So head on over to everforwardcoach.com to learn more about that. I will link the app download for you in the show notes here. And that is going to conclude this second episode of the week. I'm hoping to be able to provide these moving forward, to have 2 episodes of the podcast coming at you. And for all of my Spotify listeners, we are now on Spotify. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and now Spotify. Very happy and very proud to be on the Spotify airwaves over there, okay? So that's going to be a wrap. Thank you guys so much. If you found value in this message, please show us some love. Tap those 5 stars on your iPhone. Leave us a little 5-star rating. It takes all of about 2 seconds. And if you're feeling a little bit more giving, we would even appreciate a review. All the 5-star ratings and reviews, we try to rotate through every week and share them out on the airwaves, okay? So if your chance to be shouted out, we'll connect on the charts there. Thank you guys so much. Hope you have an amazing day, and we will connect with you again next week on the podcast here, Everforward. Thank you all so much for joining me again this week. I truly hope that you have enjoyed this episode and its message. If you have found value in Everforward Radio, I would greatly appreciate you subscribing to the podcast, as well as taking just a few seconds and leaving it a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. This is the best way to make sure our message continues to reach others. Thanks again, and I hope that this content helps you live a life Everforward.